I want to introduce our next speaker, Tasneem Maistry. She's from Pivotal. She is their analytics workbench engagement manager. She's going to talk about Pivotal and their use with unstructured data analytic workloads and the challenges that she sees facing them. So, thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Tasneem Maistry. I am the engagement manager for the Pivotal Analytics Workbench, and I'm probably one of the few very non-technical talks that you'll have. My main purpose out here today is to actually ask for help from all of you guys. And to do that, I'm going to give you a little overview of what Pivotal is doing and why we need help in this space. So the main power of any business is the applications that it writes, right? The apps read from the data produce analytics, and the faster you move around the circle, you can actually gain more value for your product. Pivotal has a comprehensive portfolio of products spanning all of these spaces, so everything from data to analytics as well as applications. We not only have a massive parallel database system, but also a Hadoop distribution and in-memory database system. Why is Pivotal doing this? We've seen throughout the years that IT budgets stay steady, but the increase of applications and the people that want to use those applications have gone up. There's a lot of systems that still exist in legacy silos. And today we are seeing a movement into the modern silos. A lot of people using AWS, GCE, Salesforce, Workday. Developers can focus on development and not infrastructure plumbing. We can separate the concerns of app dev and operations, and we can eliminate the bottleneck of provisioning and deployment processes. What this looks like in-house is you actually have multiple teams running on the same set of hardware, running all sorts of applications, right? So not only are they running virtual hardware, virtual applications, but they're also running apps on the physical hardware. And what we're starting to see with our customer base is that this sits in one data center, in one cage, and with racks intertwined with each other. Why is this relevant and important? If you have multiple workloads all running on the same set of hardware, how do you understand what your bottlenecks are? How do you understand if it's CPU, network, or disk, right? And especially when you have things like massive parallel computing, as well as Hadoop, as well as in-memory databases, and then add on virtualization on top of that, it's a fairly daunting task. So what is the Pivotal Analytics Workbench? Pivotal Analytics Workbench is actually a 1,000-node cluster. It sits out in Las Vegas. It was a collaborative project with Intel, Mellanox, and Seagate. It's open to the community. There's no charge to use, and it's the reason that I'm standing here today, right? We have 3 people, really 1.5, that run this cluster full time. There is no possible way for us to go look at networking logs, disk logs, CPU utilization while these different workloads are running and understand what their performance bottlenecks are. So what we are asking this group to do is to actually help in facilitating us understand what those bottlenecks are. As I mentioned, we have a parallel database environment. GemXD is our in-memory database solution. PCF is the Cloud Foundry virtualization solution, which basically runs all of Hadoop as well as Gem virtually on nodes. And then PhD, which is the Pivotal Hadoop solution. So the entire Pivotal product line is actually running on this cluster. It's available to anyone to use, like I said, at no cost. There are 2,006 hex-core CPUs. Mellanox contributed all of the networking and switches for this activity. So it's running 56 gig IB. Micron supported all of the modules, memory modules, and Seagate contributed all of the hard drives. Picture of the data center. So it's out in SuperNap. It's a pretty impressive facility if you've ever visited it. We have 54 racks within the cage space. 48 terabytes of total memory, 24 petabytes of raw storage available. Nobody has come close to actually hitting any of the memory requirements or storage requirements on this cluster yet. What is it used for? As I mentioned, it's open to the public and used across academia as well as industry. Informatica recently ran benchmarks of their Hadoop identity resolution product. We have MATLAB, which are open source algorithms running on the cluster. We started a project with Hack Reactor, actually trying to beat the World Guinness Book records for NQueens. We've got Alpine Data Labs running, XR, Intel has been running on there, and then we just onboarded 11 universities in the last 6 weeks. So we've got everything from genomics to image analytics to traffic analysis, you name it. So how do you get involved? We have our own website up, analyticsworkbench.com. You submit a request, it comes to me. We review the requests internally to make sure that we're not trying to change the underneath file system. We've not said no to a project yet. And then you are open and free to access the cluster and run workloads on the cluster, and for this use case, to actually look at the logs that those workloads are generating. Questions?
Is this just a pivotal stack, or can you add things to it and run your own distros or your own apps, or it has to be within your Hadoop and scale-up stack?
So the applications that sit on top of it do not have to be applications provided by Pivotal. In fact, we run a lot of applications that are not. The Hadoop distributions we do support right now are the Pivotal distribution as well as the Apache distribution. So either one of those two you're able to run on the cluster.
Question?
Sure.
You mentioned that you were going to be asking for help from the community here. I'm not sure if I understood what that help was. I just thought I'd remind you, maybe if you needed to ask more of the group.
So the help is to actually have participants from here review the logs of traffic, right, going on the cluster, and or disk utilization logs of workloads on the cluster. Like I said, there are 3 people full-time, really 1.5. So there's no way for us to go in and do some of the analysis, especially during workloads that are running.
So those requests would go through the same request channel that you had for testing the applications?
Testing the application.
Go back to the, yes, for submitting a proposal.
Yeah.
So this looks like submitting a proposal for running an application.
No, it's a proposal for running a project, right? And I'll give you an example. So a couple of months ago, we actually ran a project with Mellanox to do a switch between IB and Ethernet, right? I believe that paper is actually being released today. So we, along with the Mellanox team, were able to switch the cluster from IB to Ethernet in under 2 hours without having to change anything on the application stack and then change it back, right? So that's some of the projects that we have involved. The universities that are doing work, they're not necessarily looking at any type of application that they're testing, but they're doing their own work. They're running their own Hadoop jobs. They're bringing in their own data and using the power of the cluster are trying to find answers to the questions that they have.
Okay, so to do a bandwidth analysis or CPU analysis, you submit the same kind of request through that?
Yes. They all come to me. It doesn't go anywhere else. So. Yes?
How is data brought to this cluster? Like if somebody from academia wanted to do 100, 500 terabyte data set, how do they pump it into your 1,000 cluster?
Nobody from academia has those kind of data sets yet. The only project that came to us with anything close was Facebook, and they shipped us an AS.
How big was it?
It was 200 terabytes. Nothing else?
What? Sure. I'll ask you. What software stack were you running, did you say?
So right now we run the Pivotal software stack, but we also switch between Pivotal and Apache Hadoop. So we can switch between our distribution or the Hadoop distribution in under 3 hours across the cluster.
Do you know, is it Mellanox OFED or is it OFED or?
It's Mellanox. Okay, thanks.